So this morning we'll be practicing pranayama and meditation primarily. We'll do a couple of physical poses to get really more prepared for the pranayama and the feeling tone in the body of where the bandhas especially are influencing. And then we'll just see what it promotes in you, what you have an access to on the inside that you may otherwise in daily life kind of float just above the surface of that. So I'd like you to take a comfortable seat and we'll start with a short period of meditation. You can rest your hands in your lap. You're welcome to close your eyes. In this process we go through here from asana to pranayama to meditation. This is documented in the teachings of yoga as a kind of pathway, a progression. This morning's practice I called intermediate because you have experience already in the practice of pranayama and because you have a dedication to the inner attention that's required for your practice to mature. So when you take your seat, try to sense the profound science of yoga that you've been walking the path of for some time, but also how you have matured within. And you do bring a level of responsibility and sensitivity and dedication to your practice. And join your hands together at your heart now. And when you bring your palms together, also imagine yourself placing in your heart the community of others who are practicing with you. Even though we're not in the same physical room. And when you imagine bringing this community in to your heart, imagine them also placing you in their hearts. So you have dozens of others who are holding you in their heart in your practice. And together we support and nourish each other's dedication and how we are growing and evolving on the practice and path of yoga. So we'll chant Sahana Vavatu together. Let's begin. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidveshavai. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidveshavai. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidveshavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. And with your exhale, you're welcome to bow your head to your heart. And release your hands. Open your eyes, please. And I would like us this morning to actually start with standing. And then we're going to be coming down to the floor and doing some other work there. So let me get the proper camera for me standing. And please rise up to stand. We are going to start with a wide stance. Let me make sure I got that. Okay. And the wide stance is about the length of one of your legs, please. So this is a familiar way to begin many of the practices that I teach, partly because here we are in COVID-19, and I know a lot of people have more sitting head, neck, and shoulders, more inflection, and I want to be able to help us do several things. One is not have the pelvis be stagnant, like a stagnant nothing of energy, like apanavayam not moving. And I also want to help the thoracic spine, the neck and shoulders and heart be ready for the inhale and exhale suspensions. So come down to Prasarita Padottanasana. Begin with your fingers outstretched this morning. Press firmly into both footprints. Energize your leg muscles. And as you're reaching back with your sitting bones, tailbone, pubic bones, on the inhale, imagine the back hemisphere of the pelvic floor. That's where you're breathing into first. And then up the back body like a parachute. And on the exhale, imagine the exhale beginning at the front hemisphere of the pelvic floor and coming up through the inner belly, like you can imagine the front of your sacrum, the front of the lumbar spine, up through the thoracic spine, even up towards the throat. Now, keeping your body as stable as possible, observe the change in the pelvic floor if you pick up the right heel. So you're going to tippy toe on the right side. And then exhale and lay your right heel slowly back down, noticing the tone that comes into your pelvic floor as you do that. Inhale, raise your left heel. And exhale, lay the left heel back down. So you might be noticing a change at the level of the pelvic floor. Let's repeat this several times. So inhale, raise your right heel. Notice the back hemisphere of the pelvic floor and especially on the right side. And exhale, lower your right heel down. Bring attention to the front hemisphere of the pelvic floor and especially on the right side. Inhale, raise your left heel. Exhale to lower down. Take your time. Once more, right side. And once more, left side. Walk your hands back to be beneath your shoulders. It's okay to use blocks to make the floor closer if you need to. Turn your right heel very slightly out. Bend your right knee and come down to your right side. Now I'd like you to put your body weight back in your heels, hips and heels, rather than forward in your right knee or your toes. And notice again the back hemisphere of the pelvic floor and especially on the right side. And during the exhale, observe the front hemisphere of the pelvic floor and especially on your right. Remind yourself to keep the right knee lined up with the toes of your right foot. You do need some tone at your right outer hip right now and at the right hamstring as well. And inhale, glide up to center. Turn your left toes out slightly, bend your left knee, and come down to your left. And as you're observing the left hemisphere of the pelvic floor, notice the back side on inhale and the front side on exhale. And then inhale, rise back up to center and walk into or turn and rotate into downward facing dog pose. Now in your downward dog pose, please start with your feet hip distance apart and parallel. So you'll notice that your feet, shins, knees, thighs, hips, and pelvis are likely symmetrical. So is your torso, of course, and your arms. Notice what happens now with your mind coming into the center line of the pelvic floor and moving up the back hemisphere of your body with the inhale and the front hemisphere with your exhale. Come up high on your tiptoes, please. And bring the heels together. So you're tippy-toeing, bring the heels together, and notice how the pelvic floor changes shape. And then separate the heels. Exhale, lower your heels back towards the floor. Please come forward to table pose. And then step your right hand and left knee forward. So it's a tiny bit of a cross crawl. You just took one step so far. Okay, inhale to cat pose. Exhale to cow pose. Notice that the legs are asymmetrical, so are the arms, of course. Let's see what happens at the pelvic floor. As you inhale, please go to cat pose. Use the inhale to broaden the back hemisphere of your body. And then exhale, come to cow pose. Using the exhale to tone the front hemisphere of the spine as you come through to cow. Let's do that once more. Inhale, cat. And exhale, cow. Step back to table pose. And then left hand and right knee forward. I don't know why I keep calling my hand a foot. Okay, inhale to cat pose. And exhale to cow pose. Take your time so you can explore, not just sort of accomplish the movement, but also explore through the movement. Let's do it one more time. Inhale and exhale for cat and cow. And then take one block to sit on, please, in Virasana. And when you sit back, rest your hands in your lap and let your eyes be relaxed, whether they're open or closed. Now we're going to do two more things related to the hips, pelvis, pelvic floor. I forgot to bring a hair tie this morning, so I'm just trying to do my best. I'm going to turn as a profile view so that you can sense what we're doing, because in downward dog pose, you can't see my feet. So we're going to be playing with the pelvis, the pelvic floor. That's my dedication this morning. We'll do a little bit of work in the upper back, but I'll do more of that on Thursday. So if you take 2 blocks for your dog pose, it's going to give you a little bit more leverage for reaching back because your hands are elevated. I'd like you to place your feet so they're parallel to start. And then you're going to do that tippy toe thing where we're going to bring the heels in. And that's going to become where the knees go out as if you're coming down to child's pose, but it's more like malasana. And then we'll go back up. The heels are still touching. We'll separate the heels and lower down. So it's my hope that when you're going down like that towards this sort of malasana pose, you'll have to feel the support deep inside the pelvis, pelvic floor, deep low belly, of course the hips, the outer hips too. So your dog pose should not be the longest distance between your hands and feet that you ever have for dog pose because your blocks might start feeling slippery. Okay, so let's inhale high up on the tiptoes. That already changes the dynamics for the pelvic floor. Bring your heels together. That changes things again. And then start to bend the knees out to the side.
Reach your hips back. So you're not going forward towards the arms here. You're reaching the hips back. Notice the shape of the pelvic floor. And then raise your hips high while reaching back. Separate the heels and lower them towards the floor. So repeat, inhale to go up. Exhale, heels in. Inhale, reach back, bend the knees. Exhale to go up. Inhale, open the heels. And exhale to lower down. One more time. Inhale to go up on your tiptoes. Exhale, heels in. Inhale, knees out, heels still touching. Exhale, push down, rise up, heels still touching. Inhale, open the heels. Exhale, lower down. And then roll forward, please touch your knees down and lie on your back with your blocks available. And you're going to take the blocks on that diamond shape that we've done before. So you put the blocks so that they go under the pelvis, and you're at the outside seam where the sacrum meets the ilium. And that means it might be a little bit tender. Please put the knees up. The feet can dangle. They're like decorations. So when the knees are vertical like this, we're going to use that for the inhale. And then exhale, bring your knees towards your chest. And don't use the hands, but do use the deep belly to make a little stronger contraction in the exhale. And then inhale, let the knees drift up again towards the ceiling. And exhale, knees to your chest. So that is a thoughtful squeeze of the lower abdomen. Yep. Inhale, knees up. Exhale, squeeze in. The knees can go a little bit apart, each one towards its own shoulder. Twice more, please. Inhale, knees forward. Exhale, knees in. Okay, last one. Inhale, knees forward. And exhale, knees in. And hold the backs of your hamstrings, please. Now concentrate on welcoming the breath into the pelvic floor so you can sense both the inhale and the exhale beginning at the pelvic floor. And then please release. Touch your feet to the floor. Take the blocks out to the side. Stretch your legs out for a moment. Okay, so that's going to conclude the sort of physical asana practice for right now. I'd like us to have a short reset, and then we're going to do pranayama and meditation. And it'll be a longer set for both. So right now, let your body integrate the work we were just doing. You don't have to think too hard about it. There's nothing I want you to analyze right now. Let your mind and your body become really still. The integration process is better facilitated by our mental surrender and physical stillness. So allow your mind to rest as completely as possible. Thinking habits may show up like little raindrops on the surface of the water, but you don't need to engage with the thought habit. Just rest for one more minute, please. Let your mind be really still. And please bend your knees and roll to your side and come up to a seat that you can use for seated pranayama and meditation. So there's options for how you set up your seat, of course, and it should be supportive and personal to you. And when you take your seat, of course, you have permission to adjust it in the practice if you need to, but I am going to recommend that as much as possible, you make your starting seat something that you can be still in for the next while. So rest your hands out over your knees. I have to take care of something or lose the camera. Just a moment. Hey, no, that's not your spot. No. I was watching impending possible danger and then okay. I don't want, the kitten knocked over the camera last week, so I'm on to you. Yeah. No camera mischief, okay?
Okay, so while sitting upright, rest your hands out over your knees and establish that your upright seat is like a pyramid shape. And if you reach back and take the sitting bones and just widen them out a little bit, you may be able to sense that your seat, I would recommend, with how you're sitting, you're really sitting on the back hemisphere of the pelvic floor, the sitting bones, the tailbone, but that the front hemisphere of the pelvic floor is not really having pressure in any sense being on the blanket. And then when you place the feet, of course, make them comfortable for you. But if possible, this wider base gives you the stability of a pyramid, a tripod base. And you can close your eyes. And bring attention down to the solar plexus. We're going to practice Bhastrika with suspensions, and then Kapalabhati with suspensions. So let's begin. Exhale to the end. Inhale through both nostrils. Inhale up to suspension. You're going to hold the breath in, lift the chest, brighten the heart, snug the lower belly inward and upwards, and your chin downward and inward. So the pressure system in the chest intensifies. And then release those contractions in the body before you exhale. And exhale completely. Tone the low belly at the end of that exhale. And then inhale smoothly again back up to suspension. Close the right nostril. Exhale left side. Inhale both nostrils, again up to suspension. Close the left, exhale right. Deeply relax. Remind yourself that you have enough oxygen in your brain and body. You don't have to breathe vigorously right now. The breath might be really subtle or very shallow. And now Kapalabhati. A quick reminder, the pelvic floor should be toned enough during these kriyas, Bhastrika and Kapalabhati, toned enough that your body isn't shaking with each of the exhales. Also, the chest is not particularly moving about. The flutter of the breath does come from the solar plexus and from the diaphragm. And let's begin. Exhale. Inhale to suspension. Exhale through both nostrils. Inhale both nostrils. Close the right, exhale left. Inhale both. Close the left, exhale right. And deeply relax. Now we're going to practice Nadi Shodhana with the what I call upside down triangle breath. So you'll inhale left, suspend equal length, exhale right, equal length. We'll inhale right, we'll suspend equal length, and exhale left. Each of you is going to be at your own pace for that because your stamina and steadiness has to be respected. You'll hear me say at some point with your next exhale left, let's have that be the last one. A couple of reminders. If you're new to the practice, to inhale with suspension and exhale, try keeping one nostril completely closed while keeping the other one completely open when you're breathing. But as your practice matures, you're going to keep one nostril completely closed and try closing the other nostril part way. So it further restricts the opening that the breath is traveling through, requires more internal elegance. It slows down the length of both inhale and exhale. Please bring the first two fingers into the center of your palm. And then with your thumb, start with the right side closed. Begin with inhale left. Please complete with your next exhale left. And welcome yourself to sit really quietly with mental stillness. practice what's called Yoga Mudra, which is where we're going to be coming forward, but without the use of the hands. And it can be helpful to set up a couple of blocks to rest your head on. So sometimes we practice kneeling and we put the fists into the belly. In this case, we're practicing sitting cross-legged. So if you're kneeling right now, you could do the other form, and I'll explain that. But since most of you are sitting cross-legged, we're going to take the hands and lightly rest them at the small of the back. When you come forward with your exhale, you're going to come down until your head is supported. And when your head is supported, you're going to have the exhale held out, head supported, and you relax the belly muscles. So the ones that exhaled, those muscles relax, and there's going to be an internal suction that comes as a result of that. That internal suction is the first start of the bandhas during exhale suspension. I'm going to ask you just to rest within that first level of the suction, not to make it into a full Uddiyana Bandha right now. So if you're kneeling, you're going to put your fists between the low belly and the hip crease and the thighs, so that when you're coming forward, you also have support for your head. Okay. Let's start upright with an inhale, full inhale, please. And then exhale to come forward. Aim to rest your head at the height that you need it to be, and to exhale completely, squeezing the deep low abdomen, mid-torso, and upper chest as well. Holding the exhale out, relax all the muscles that helped the exhale to happen. Release the bandhas. Inhale, rise up to sitting. One way to think about the release of those bandhas is you have no inhale in the lungs. So the suction that's happening, the pressure is going up into the chest. When you're going to resume inhaling, you tone the outer body and press the chest lightly down towards the abdomen. That moves the pressure system so that you can inhale without gasping. Let's do it again. Breathe in, please. Exhale to come forward. Squeeze, and without inhaling, then release. Inhale to rise, of course, at your own timing. Exhale, continue, or take a catch-up breath cycle, and then continue. Make no effort that is beyond your own capacity. No sense of competing with your future self, your past self, with anybody else. When you next rise up with an inhale, then rest your hands and keep your attention inward, please. Now we're going to add Uddiyana Bandha. So I've been speaking with you for the last couple of weeks that at the end of the exhale where you're squeezing, 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 there is that first initial release of the muscles that made the exhale. It's a blink of time, and then you make this mock inhalation, this pretend inhalation, and that picks up the internal myofascial and musculoskeletal systems that when you inhale, muscles are being used. So in the pretend inhalation, no air is coming in, and the bandhas, you just had this hint of suction from that suction deepens. It becomes amplified. You only hold that suction, that Uddiyana Bandha, within your comfort zone, and then you again have to reacclimate the pressure system to inhale without gasping. So to reacclimate, you can think of toning the outer body, relaxing the inner body, the belly. So there's a feeling of the upper chest kind of just pressing down, and then there's a release to inhale. Okay, so let's try this, hands behind the back again, or if you're kneeling, go like this. You begin with an inhale. And exhale to come forward. You are going to exhale completely. Holding the exhale out, you squeeze and squeeze. Momentary, complete release of belly muscles, and then whisking in the mock inhalation. And then release that before you inhale. Inhale, rise up to sitting. Let's try that one more time, bowing forward with the exhale. And inhale to rise up when you're ready to. Now, in that position, when you're forward, you have to be artful about feeling into that pretend inhalation. Likely you had some sensations in the abdomen and fewer experiences in the upper chest. You might have felt a little hint in the throat. So we're going to do this now sitting upright. And I want you to sense when you're upright and the chest and heart are rising with the exhale suspension, that it's because there's an internal process happening. The chest is being lifted by the vacuum that you've created. The suction at the throat will be more obvious to you. Okay, your hands can be out and they can help keep the torso spacious through here. Towards the end of the exhale suspension, when you're getting up to the full lift, you may have a feeling of wanting to roll the shoulders back and lifting the chest and the heart up. That would be appropriate. Okay, so let's start with an inhale, please. And exhale completely. Notice the low belly toning and toning. Then you're going to release the exhale muscles. That momentary suction you then add to with your pretend inhalation. Release the bandhas and then inhale smoothly. So once more while seated like this, inhale. Exhale. You complete with your inhale at your own timing, then let your body deeply relax. And try to sense any hint of mental quiet, a suspension of thoughts. And keeping an attitude of mental quiet, please transition to supported bridge pose with one block. The block goes flat under your pelvis. This position is going to give you a greater sense of what the exhale suspension is like in the low pelvis and the massage of the organs, the what we call apanavayu. So same process now as you're on your back. Inhale, low belly, mid and upper. Momentary inhale, suspension. Then focus on your exhale. Exhale, exhale. You'll have squeezed the exhale out. You'll relax at the almost split moment there. You're going to make the inhale pretend inhale. Then you release the bandhas before you inhale. Please try that without any sense of aggression, twice more. So you go to the end of the exhale really thoughtfully. You ought to feel the abdomen, but also regions of the upper chest helping with the exhale. You'll release the exhale muscles very briefly but deeply, and then the internal pretend inhalation will suction or vacuum the inner belly up towards the heart, and you may sense that even moving up into the throat. When you've done that 2 or 3 times, 3 was recommended, but if you've completed 2 and they were long suspensions, then please put the block aside and come to Shavasana. Let your body rest and receive.
Invite yourself to lie really still, another minute entirely. Very thoughtfully, take a slightly deeper breath in. And then your personal transition back up to sitting, please. With appreciation for the chance to come together in this practice, please bring your hands to your heart. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you everyone for being here. Also thank you to my teachers, your teachers, and our teachers' teachers. Namaste. I will come up to say hi closer. My little student is still having Shavasana back there.
body. How are you feeling? The mood of the mind.